I think you'll be shocked to see in the price points that we're at for downtown Calgary. And here you got a 2-bedroom unit listed for, 339.9.
Are you dealing with still a lot of multiple offers? Is it no, there's not a ton of competition, we can snipe the occasional deal?
Yes. So actually, we had 2 transactions that happened in the last week here. Right now, year after year, in July, we've experienced quite a few more sales than that of last year, 26% up. So we had a total of 2,319 sales. Condos, days on market in July, 64.
Oh, wow. This creates a decent opportunity for any investors looking to pick up a condo. What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and we're back talking about the Calgary market with Tristan. Hey, Tristan, how's it going?
Hey, Matt, good. How are you doing?
Doing well. And so I know today you've got a presentation put together for us, and we're also going to be hitting upon the 5 metrics that people need to know about if they're looking at buying a condo in Calgary, right?
Absolutely. I'm excited to share with you, everything to look for when buying a condo in Calgary, as well as touching on a few of the statistics into July in contrast to June of this year. So
awesome. And I know at the end of it, you've also got some real life deals that are actually pretty shockingly low price, but we'll leave that till the end. So let's jump into the presentation.
So in July, I mean, we just got our second quarter statistics out for the year. So it's been a shocking first half to the year with transactions setting, the highs of the last decade. And supply has not kept pace with the sales. So this has caused extremely tight conditions, obviously, especially in the detached sector. We touched on that last time that I was on here, that detached is leading the charge when it comes to the home prices and the demand in Calgary. So benchmark home prices went from $492 in January to $537 last month in June to just over $540 here in July. So we are still seeing an increase in the benchmark price and increase in the market, which has been a pretty insane year for sales in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
These price gains have also encouraged more sellers to list their homes, which has helped alleviate some of that pressure. But we haven't seen enough of that to happen yet to switch it from a seller's market to a balanced market yet. I do anticipate that time to come in the short future here, but right now we're still firmly in a seller's market. In the detached and semi-detached sectors of homes. So we did expect things to improve in 2021 from 2020, but after the first half of the year, we're blown away at what's happened. The sales totaled in Calgary so far in the first half of the year is just over 15,000 transactions, which is the highest levels again that we've seen since the boom of 06-07. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's insane. Pent-up demand and low interest rates, has created that environment that we're experiencing right now. Concerns over lack of supply is still a prevalent thing among buyers. Working with a lot of buyers right now that are in a very similar situation, and that is they're scared to miss out on the market. So it's kind of leading to this whole sooner rather than later approach, which isn't always the best, but as you can see here, this orange graph tells you the benchmark prices were at an all-time, straight up and down, and then things are starting to flatten in this last month here. So basically the last 2 months, things have started to soften a little bit, which is really good from a buyer's point of view, especially if you're just trying to enter the market. That's really encouraging to see because a lot of buyers were getting concerned if they could even buy a home in Calgary here.
Right. And then I guess just talking about that, as you're starting to see, some of the competition maybe soften a bit, how's that actually impacting like buying a property? Are you dealing with still a lot of multiple offers? Is it no, there's not a ton of competition, we can snipe the occasional deal?
Yes. So actually we had 2 transactions that happened in the last week here where we were able to negotiate a 92% of list price and a 95% of list price on a detached home, which I haven't had the leverage to do that in such a long time that it felt awesome to represent my clients on that level. But no, we are experiencing a lot less competing offer situations. Back in May and April were obviously that was the hype of the hype where things were going nuts. You experienced that more in your Vancouvers and Torontos, but in Calgary, it was very adverse to see 10 offers on a property within the first 5 hours. So luckily, there's been enough supply to alleviate some of those situations, but they are happening still quite frequently in the $400,000 to $500,000 price points in the detached sector.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So in this blue graph here, I'm not sure if your viewers can see, but just dipping into months of supply, we've seen an increase in supply the last 2 months, which again, goes hand in hand with contributing to a more balanced market. And here we got total residential sales over the course of the last few years. The forecasted sales are anticipated to almost double that of last year, which is kind of insane to think about. Things usually move a little bit slowly in the real estate markets, but seeing such an increase in just a matter of seconds is pretty crazy. So we do anticipate things to remain strong throughout the remainder of the year. This record-setting pace is not expected to keep up the way it is, but we are going to see some slowage into the second half, into the third quarter and fourth quarter. But overall sales are still expected to exceed 24,000 units. So right now, through the first half of the year, 15,000 units. Second half of the year, totals 24. So you're going to be seeing that reduced a fair bit. But still, on an annual basis, this has been the best year since 2014. Supply is expected to continue to increase as the price recovery has brought more sellers forward to list their homes. It just encouraged them to maybe take a shot at it compared to previous years where things have been at a low point. But yeah, both detached and multifamily sectors are still booming, and we are expecting an overall price rise of 8% for the year.
Gotcha. And so I guess probably one of the reasons that you're seeing more potential sellers coming onto the market, as well as I know like Calgary or the Alberta market in general is a little bit more boom bust compared to the rest of Canadian real estate. So I imagine, maybe in the past there was people that kind of bought at peak highs, a few years ago or back in whatever, 2013, 14, stuff like that. And they're able now to be able to, they're no longer kind of underwater on their price point.
100%. Yeah. There's people who bought, if you look at this green bracket here, you have a peak in the market prices. And that's when a lot of people bought, was in 2013, 14, 15, because they had a very similar fear of sooner rather than later mentality, which, they bought in rather than not buying in at all. But again, much like the stock market, things can change quite quickly. And after that, it's just been a steady scale downwards. Things were pretty stable though in 1920. Like there was a 1% reduction overall in benchmark prices, which is very insignificant, but reduction nonetheless. And then you see people returning to that 2014 form, which it's actually affected the rental market as well, because you have a lot of people capitalizing on that gain and selling, because there's some people who bought in 2019 a $500,000 home that's now worth $600,000. So they're like, okay, I'm going to sell it, take that money, pull it out, and rent for a year. So that's affected and trying to trickle down to the rental market. There's very few rentals available for detached homes because of it.
Gotcha.
Whether it's going to be worth it for them in the long term, who knows? Because things would have to reduce quite a bit in order for them to rebuy. But it's a risk, I guess, they're willing to take, right? Economy in Calgary, it's far from recovery. Conditions are much better than originally forecasted, which is great. But there's a few factors, mostly employment rates, that's affecting that. So job loss did occur over last year and even earlier on this year. But because the shutdowns, job prospects are improving, full-time and part-time positions as the economy has reopened now. Hopefully it stays that way, fingers crossed. Hoping things don't ever shut down ever again. We're starting to see some of that in BC though, which is concerning because Alberta typically follows suit with their partners, left and right, Saskatchewan and BC. Unemployment rates are far better than originally expected as well, considering what we've gone through. So overall, there are several factors that have not seen employment return to the pre-pandemic levels, and that is mostly the fact that people have not gone back to work. Once things are fully firm and opening, meaning there's no hesitancy with having people come back to the offices, we'll start to see more development in that sector, and hopefully that bodes well for the long-term housing market.
Mm-hmm.
Because on a population front, Alberta has seen steady increase from back in 2017. Things have been slowly 2% a year increase in population, but obviously last year a lot of people went home back to their wherever they were because they got layoffs or they just wanted to go back to family. So there's a lot of unknowns. So we did lose a lot of population due to that, but we started seeing some return of the international migration over the last 2 quarters. First quarter data is still showing a loss of interprovincial migrants, mostly due to people going back to BC. So as restrictions continue to be lifted and work from home orders get lifted, because we don't have much restrictions here right now, but work from home is still quite common with a lot of companies and businesses. So we should start to see additional growth with that. So any interprovincial growth that we have will be from jobs. That's typically the biggest reason. Second reason being affordability of living in Calgary. But again, they still need a job to live here. So it's all starts from that. But yeah, you can see here as the red bar, things were increasing pretty slowly, pretty steadily, and pretty stable, and then a huge drop off. I'm sure like lots of the world, but especially in Calgary. So if we do keep experiencing a loss of migration, we will possibly see less demands in the rental market and the home market in general into 2022. But I do anticipate things to get back and restore to normal, come fall and next year.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And obviously, definitely one of the big numbers to pay attention to over the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, no, it has a huge effect on the long-term growth of Calgary in general and the housing market. So again, one of the key drivers in the impact of the market is lending rates. These discount rates, they've risen slightly, but not very much. They impose more stringent qualification rules, the stress test in June. But again, low rates are still expected to drive demand over the near term. So there's not really much concern of them going up too much for the following 6 months here. Who knows what could happen into next year? The rate of inflation is a little bit crazy right now. We got to stop printing money, but separate fact. But yeah, it's undoubtedly going to be a bumpy road back to how things were normally. But again, once people start going back to work in the offices and things return more and more normal all the time, we should have a stronger economy supporting the housing market in the second half of this year. Because right now it's mostly been the rates and pent up demand, but we need something backing that if we're going to see continued stability in the future. Okay, I'm going to jump in. Before we get into condos, I just want to quickly break down a few of the actual statistics in regards to different sectors in Calgary. So right now, year after year, in July, we've experienced quite a few more sales than that of last year, 26% up. So we had a total of 2,319 sales and 3,296 new listings. So as you can see, 26.4% new sales, 9.1% new listings. So that still is an increase. It's going to cause more of a seller's market than it was this time last year due to that. Inventory levels currently sitting at 6678 in all of Calgary, total residential. That's a very similar number to last year. However, that's a bit skewed because you have a lot less detached in there and a lot more condos. A lot of people were trying to take advantage of the positive market and list their condos, hoping to recover some of that loss. And that's making up a huge amount of that number. So it's a little bit different than we've seen it composed of in recent years. But again, total residential up 10% for the year so far. That's going to start settling down. Again, it's expected to be a total of 8%. So we are anticipating things to start slowing and maybe a little bit decrease throughout the year. Detached leading the charge, semi-detached and townhouses right behind it, and apartments pretty stable. So total residential for the year, going from January, February, March, April, May, June, July. I can't believe we're in July. It's crazy. we've seen a total number of sales last month. So not last month now when we're recording, but in June of 2,900 dropped down to 2,319 in July. So a huge drop in sales. Part of that's due to the summer break. A lot of people are away, not thinking about buying homes right now. But that is a little more typical of what we're expecting to see throughout the months coming forward. I don't anticipate this number to keep on rising. I do expect it to keep on shrinking as August, September hit and into fall, where things typically from a real estate standpoint do get slower to begin with, but we're coming off of a really big high. So it's going to keep on trickling down, much like you see there. New listings are also dropped quite a bit, down to 3,300 from 4,100 the month before. And inventory is sitting pretty close, 200 less units available on the market in July as opposed to June last month. But one interesting statistic here is our days on market. Again, this is total residential, so it's including condos as well. If you're looking at detached, it's going to be a much smaller number, especially detached within a $400,000 to $500,000 price bracket. I mean, those sell almost instantly. So there's micro pockets of you have to look at when you're looking at purchasing a home. This is obviously a broad stroke when it comes to stats. But 40 days on market in July, that's an increase from 34 in June. And we haven't seen that many days on market since looking back to February at 45. So it's been quite a while since we've seen that. It's gone like this, right? And it's gone down to reality is what it is. Benchmark prices also have not gone down, but they've greatly reduced the rapid increases that we've seen. So a $2,000 difference in average benchmark price from June to July. And in August here, we are anticipating that number to go down from 460. So I think we really have experienced the peak. Didn't think it would ever get there, but I think we've finally gotten to that point. And I'm going to scroll down because we're talking about condos. I want to touch how much different those numbers are compared to detached and to the rest of the crowd. Condos, days on market in July, 64.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So yeah, do you mind maybe just elaborating a bit on that? And I'm guessing this creates a decent opportunity for any investors looking to pick up a condo.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so optimistic in Calgary in the 5 to 10 year approach that I really do think that there's an opportunity here for long-term growth. So 64 days on market. If you look back to this time last year, it was 70 days on market. So things have not gotten a lot stronger, which can be a really good opportunity for some people still. If they start looking into this direction, because not only are the benchmark prices still fairly low in relativity, your ability to negotiate is so much higher. The sale to list price ratio, so basically what you end up buying a home for versus what it's listed for, is 95% on condos. So $100,000 condo would sell for $95,000 versus a detached home. It's sitting around 99%, which is pretty much close to list price. Your negotiation power is next to none, especially if you get into competing offers. So there's great opportunity here. Again, benchmark prices have risen as the years gone on, but it's been marginally the same. Marginally has not changed at all. We have an inventory of 1,918 apartments. So not condos. Condos are a type of home ownership, but actual condo apartments. We're sitting at 1,900, and 1,000 of those are in the inner city of Calgary, so the city core. Which just tells you how much supply you have, how many options you have to pick from. You can be picky and you can find that deal and you can, quote unquote, snipe that deal in the condo market.
Gotcha. And so I guess this naturally, for me as an investor, brings up the question, what's kind of going on in the rental market with condos? And I know sometimes the information on vacancy rates kind of lags real time, but even if you just know anecdotally.
Yeah, so it does. It's tough to really know the exact statistics behind it, but we can infer the vacancy rates are higher than typical amongst condos, amongst apartments especially. I should stop saying condos because that could be townhomes, that could be anything. Especially in Alberta where there's bare-land condos. A single-family home could be a condo. So no, the vacancy rates are still high. There's lots of supply for rentals in that market. So that's why it's competitive. You have to find the right property if you're going to be investing for the purpose of rental. And there's a few factors that we'll get into that to look for as well.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So that's what we're going to hop into right now. So I'm going to put my buyer's guide here. I'm not going to go through the whole buyer's guide. I'm just going to touch on a couple pages here for your viewers, just so they understand what a condo is in Alberta, pros and cons of living or purchasing a condo, some of the restrictions that are involved, and then just 5 metrics to really look out for when prospecting, potentially investing in the market here in Calgary. And if your viewers want to get sent this buyer's guide for their own curiosity, I'd be more than happy to send it out to them as well. So
awesome. Yeah. And if you guys want to get in contact with Tristan, in the video description down below will be all his contact info. So make sure you hit him up.
Absolutely. So table of contents there. You can kind of see what's all about. But what is a condo? So as we talked about just now, condo is a form of ownership. It's not a style of construction. So most people think about a high-rise building downtown, concrete build as a condo. But really, it could be a low-rise building, fewer than 5 stories. It could be a townhome, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, you name it. There are even mixed-use condos that are partially residential, partially retail, and commercial buildings, which a lot of the new developers are, going that direction just to, make a better environment for their residents. Having everything within a walking distance and even part of the base of the building is really important and something that people look for nowadays. So when you're looking at buying a condo, you virtually have 3 choices. You can buy new, you can buy resale, so pre-owned condo, or a conversion. Now, new condos refer to units that were not previously occupied. So even though it could be a 2015 building, you could still buy a new condo if they haven't sold it yet, and with that full 10-year warranty and the full representations that come from the developer. But you can also buy a new condo in like the pre-development stage, where you really don't have much to go off of. You can't go in the unit, you can't see what it's all about. You're looking at papers and floor plans. Maybe they have a show suite to show you, but there's not much to go off of. So it can be intimidating for a lot of buyers to buy like a pre-development condo. But there could be some good opportunities in there too. So it's important to keep your mind open to that. And a lot of people do like buying new because they have that, brand new finishes, all the best technology built into the condo, maybe more amenities in the building, low condo fees. There's some benefits to doing that. And especially if you're renting, a lot of renters are looking for newer buildings because of those amenities and because they want an open concept. They want stone countertops. They don't want this old style condo anymore, right? So resale is another option. Resale units, one that has been occupied before by a current owner. One of the advantages is you get a chance to actually go inside and see the building, see the area and the grounds. You get an opportunity to meet other unit owners, the concierge staff. I always think it's the best thing ever if they have 24-hour security or concierge to go and talk to them. They typically know everything about the building. They've been there for years. They've seen all the shit that goes down there, or no shit.
Yeah.
But they know all there is to know about the building. So that's what I definitely recommend. It's really important because when you're buying a new condo, the builder can say whatever they want. They can say it's going to be managed well and things are going to go without a hitch, but typically they do. So when you buy a building that's 5-10 years old, or buy a unit in a building, you really get a chance to see how it's being managed and if it's going to be have long-term growth. And the last thing, you can buy a conversion condo. You wouldn't necessarily know you're buying a conversion because it's converted, but it refers to units in a building that was previously used for something else and repurposed. So renovated from an office building, or maybe like it was used for a commercial or industrial building that's converted into lofts. That's a common thing in Calgary, is you see a lot of conversions like that. But again, pros and cons to everything in life, especially condo living. From an investment point of view, there's very few maintenance items and repair responsibilities. That's part of the condo board to take care of. It's generally a low cost to purchase, especially right now. You have access to a lot of on-site amenities, especially in newer buildings that a lot of people do like, especially in the pandemic, like lots of buildings with gyms that was relied on heavily by a lot of residents because lots of local gyms were shut down. Yoga studios, guest suites, entertaining room, you name it, just access to amenities in general. A lot of people do like the enhanced security that comes with living in a condo, especially a high-rise building. You have, key fobs to go through every door, a key fob to go to your elevator and to your floor. So, there is a level of security that comes with that a lot of people do appreciate, especially when you go away on trips and things like that. And if you go into a well-managed building, maintenance and condo fees are usually predictable. But again, that's something that you really have to do due diligence on to make sure you're in a properly managed building. But
yeah, absolutely.
hey, man, if you're someone who really appreciates doing their own thing and having their privacy, obviously condo's not going to be for you. You can't decide everything that goes down. It's a board decision and a board vote. So if you really want to say, you have to join the board and take charge of it, which a lot of people don't like to do. But I always recommend doing it because you learn a lot about the building and you have a say in what actually happens with the building. So if you're buying into a building with a lot of amenities, like we just talked about, but you don't use them, that might not be could be a con because you're paying condo fees every month towards a pool that you never hop into. So that's just something to look for in potentially evaluating yourself and if you're right for a condo. But that purpose could change if you're looking at it for yourself or from an investment point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So top 5 metrics to be aware of before investing into a condo in Calgary. Location is, everyone always talks about location. It is the most important factor when buying any real estate, but you'll want to think about long-term resale value. So is the neighborhood on an upswing? Are the developments planned that could help increase the property's value, but more importantly, hurt the property's value long-term? Now, for example, I live in Victoria Park downtown in Calgary. Just down the street, there is a rehabilitation homeless shelter. And to put this lightly, there's a lot of transient people going around shouting. But if you viewed an apartment at a time where you didn't see anyone, you might think it's an amazing area and very safe and feel secure. But then you go and purchase that property and you take possession, and all of a sudden you realize the reality of that. And that really does impact property value. It's important you work with someone who really knows the area, and not even sometimes a realtor, because a realtor can't be a specialist on every single area in a city. So it's important to start talking to, again, the building staff, local residents, and see what their opinion is on it, because they've been there, they know.
Yeah, I know that's a really big thing. And it's even important for us, whether you're buying a condo, a rental property or an apartment building. And it's something that Casey Wong has mentioned multiple times on my channel. If you're kind of nervous about an area that you're looking at buying in, why not go there on a Friday or a Saturday night, park there and just kind of listen to a couple podcasts or whatever and kind of watch the street life and just kind of what's going on. And that can really give you some great insights into what it might be like to live there.
Absolutely. And even in an area where there's lots of developments going up, that can be a really positive thing, because it drives a lot of consumers to that area as a hotspot and a hub for things that are going on, like new shops, new restaurants, close to schools, transit. Those are all important things, because people, if they live downtown, they want to be able to walk to things. That's one of the big reasons they live downtown. They don't want to have to walk 15 minutes to a grocery store, because what's the purpose? They may as well just drive. But one of the things to look for as well is if there's an empty lot next to you and you have a beautiful view right now, how's that going to be like in 5 years? That could be a reason why someone's selling that unit, because they know of future development coming their way that could block, your unit's view, which is possibly the one reason why you bought it. So it's really important to think long-term and really do your homework on that. One thing that I've learned a lot recently is the average consumer, especially when helping buyers out, the average person is starting to expect some level of amenities in their condos. A lot of the older buildings are falling by the wayside just because they don't even have things like storage lockers. It's a really important thing, especially in Calgary, when people have winter tires to store. They go out skiing, they have a bunch of gear. They need places to keep that. And a lot of the older buildings don't have those type of amenities. So some examples are like, your gym, party room. So if you're buying a small unit and you don't really have the space to entertain, you want to have that ability to rent that party room. Swimming pool, concierge is really important. Guest suites is a big one. Lots of the new buildings do have guest suites, which is awesome. Mine does. And whenever I have, family visiting, I just rent the guest suite for $100 a night, cheaper than a hotel and nicer than a hotel. And they're in your building. So it's a great perk to have. Visitor parking, of course. Lots of new buildings have dog washing stations too. I think a lot of people got dogs and pets over COVID, so that's an important one.
Yeah.
But really, really want to do is think about your potential renters, right? You want to open up that pool, open up that to a big a pool as possible of potential renters. So the more amenities you have, the higher condo fees. So take that into consideration as well. Make sure the building's well managed and that those condo fees are going to be stable for years to come. And they are at a rate where, they're not undercutting and undervaluing themselves if things do go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Condo bylaws. Now, this is important for all your Airbnb people.
Yes.
Every condo has the right to change their bylaws upon a vote. So even if the bylaws say right now you can have an Airbnb or a short-term rental, whatever you may call it, it could change in the matter of weeks if they put the bylaws to a vote and they want to redo the bylaws to annex those people, which a lot of condos are doing right now. This year, I think, has been an all-time high of lawyers rewriting bylaws for condos to update them. So again, it's one of those things that before you even view a unit, if you're considering buying it for Airbnb purposes, have your realtor, have someone pull up the bylaws, make sure it's going to be okay for you before you waste your time on that. Another thing to look for too, pet approval, like pets restrictions, having a building that allows pets and doesn't allow pets is important to know when renting a unit. A lot of people do have pets now again, so having a pet-friendly building can be a positive thing. And then rules of renovations. So if you're planning on doing a flip, for example, having those bylaws pulled so you know exactly what you can and cannot do within your unit without permission is important. If you buy an older building and you plan to tear down a couple walls and update things, that's something you need to know before you buy. As well as age restrictions. I've heard a few horror stories of people buying into an 18 plus condo because that's in the bylaws, 18 plus building, and then they have a kid and then have to move. So just think about your future, think about what you're looking for as far as a renter goes, and take that into consideration. And reserve fund. This is going to make or break your investment into an apartment, into a condo, is your reserve fund and potential special assessments. So to avoid risk of your condo fees skyrocketing, it's important to make sure there's sufficient money in the reserve fund. The reserve fund is there to pay for capital expenses, repairs, amenities, building envelope issues, any kind of mechanical deficiencies. So if you don't have enough money there, they can issue what's called a special assessment for whatever amount they need to collect on to fix the problem, which can be anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000. With special assessments, you do see them ruin buildings sometimes. There's quite a few buildings around Calgary that are very well known because of special assessments. They often lead to foreclosures because on the food chain, condo fees and special assessments come first before your mortgages. So the condo board can actually foreclose on your property because of your condo fees or assessments being in arrears, which leads to, again, the values of the property plummeting beyond belief.
Yeah. I think a lot of people overlook that, and it's really important to understand where that condo sits.
Absolutely. This is one building down south, this townhouse complex that is backing onto a park. It's in a great area, Canyon Meadows. It's amazing, but there was a huge building envelope issue because it's an older complex. So they had to redo the whole building envelope and special assessed everybody. I think it was $70,000. And for the last 3 years, you've just seen foreclosure after foreclosure, right? So it does lead to an investor feeding frenzy in a way, because you have a lot of people buying up these units for half of what they're once worth a year ago, paying off the special assessment, and then just maybe doing some renovations and re-renting the unit. So there are some opportunities when it comes to foreclosed properties as well. It's just there's hidden misses to that. And then last thing here, size and floor plan. Okay, so size does matter. Layout matters when buying a condo. Again, you're in a very competitive market when it comes to renting it out. So you need to think about all aspects and what your competition has and what you can do better, how you can prevent more value from your unit. So think about who your ideal renter is and how to appeal to them. Ideally finding a plan where the rooms are on opposite sides and bathrooms as well, just so that you can optimize rent. Roommates like that a lot. And just, a building with a view is important. So because you have so much selection available, it's okay to be picky, and it's important to be patient and find the right unit with the right plan. I think you'll be shocked to see at the prices and the price points that we're at for downtown Calgary. So we're going to start with a building called the Mark on 10th. It's built in 2015. It's got all the amenities you can think of, tons of shops around it. It's a great location. And here you got a 2-bedroom unit listed for, $339,900. This is 675 square feet. You got condo fees of $475 monthly. That does include everything except for your electricity, which typically you get your tenants to pay anyways, along with your internet. But yeah, it includes your maintenance, heat, insurance, professional management, reserve fund contributions, security, 24 hours, sewer, snow removal, etc. So that's what your condo fee covers. Your taxes for the year on this property is about $23.73, so about $200 a month. And yeah, this is a unit on the 14th floor.
And then, so for perspective here, Tristan, what would what do you think rent would be roughly for a apartment like this?
So this is what we're seeing. Right downtown, the prices of the units are a little bit higher than if you go just outside of downtown. You can acquire a condo for a little bit less, but the rents don't change very much. So a 2-bedroom unit like this in a building such as itself, because of the amenities, because of the location, it would command a higher rent than some. But you're typically going to be looking at a range of $2,200 to $2,400 for a unit like this.
Okay, yeah, really appreciate that perspective. And it looks like it's got some really nice finishes in it from just the photos you were showing.
Yeah, and here's an example of a 1-bedroom in the same building. So 1-bedroom, I do the calculation all the time. It's tough to find something that cash flows in Calgary to begin with, but especially in the 1-bedrooms, because you're looking at 289, 540 square feet. Beautiful unit. Like I'll show you here. It's very clean, like everything in this building. But you're not going to find this property cash flowing at all. You got, $290,000 plus your $369 monthly, $180 a month in property taxes plus any other expenses. You could likely rent this unit for $1,600, $1,650. So I don't think that necessarily is a good purchase from a cash flow point of view, but this is what I was talking about from long-term point of view and long-term capital growth, because I do think Calgary probably has the highest potential for long-term growth where it sits right now, as opposed to Vancouver and Toronto, just because of how low the condo market is and where it once was even 5 years ago. And I really do think it's going to get back to that point. You have a lot of developers who are actually building rental buildings, so high rises, just like this one here, for the purpose of rentals for the next 10 years. And their plan is to convert them back to condos and to renovate them and resell them, because they too are optimistic about the 10-year plan in Calgary. And they do think that renting for the next 10 years is smart, and then selling them when the market's going to be hotter and in more demand 10 years from now.
Gotcha.
Because even this, I have an article right here I'll just quickly pull up. BOSA are building a building just down the street. This one here, it's also a mixed-use building with commercial and retail at the bottom. But they just announced that they're converting this condo building into rentals just last week. So even they see an opportunity to rent for the next 5-10 years, convert to condos, and take advantage of that better market down the road. And then one property I think you guys will be interested in here is this area is called South Calgary. 33rd Avenue is basically Marda Loop. It's the sub area of South Calgary. It's very trendy, very popular, very high demand. And you have a unit like this here. So $267,800 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 800 square feet. And this unit would most likely rent for just around $2,000.
Okay.
Or just over. It's a low-rise building, which means 2 to 4 stories. It's not going to have a bunch of amenities because most low-rises don't. Maybe they have a rooftop patio, maybe they have a party room, things like that, but they're not going to have the same amount of amenities as a high-rise building.
Mm-hmm.
And again, look at the days on market. 167 days they've been trying to sell this unit for.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So, and the last one, I'm not sure if you saw, was 600 days. So, I mean, it just shows, the valuation of properties here, the history. They were listing this unit for $359 back in 2015. So, I believe they bought this one. I did some research. I believe they bought this one for about $360 back about 6 years ago. So, nothing wrong with the building. Great building, great location, but just the market itself. So that's what I'm saying. Even if you find a property that doesn't cash flow a bunch, but just a little bit, the long-term potential, I think, is definitely there.
Interesting. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, because once you do the calculations on the taxes, the fees, possible insurance costs, and your mortgage, depending if you're putting 5 or 20% down, this property would likely have a monthly expenditure for you of around $1,600 with 20% down, and you could likely rent it for about $2,000. So this is a rare scenario where you do see a property that could be a potential cash flow positive, but because the rents haven't matched, the overall price of the units, like the rents aren't high enough to really justify a lot of those purchases. That's why you're kind of counting on them for long-term growth. But yeah, that's just a couple examples. I'll show you one more, just so people can see something more modern. Here's another unit very close by in Bankview. So Bankview is a redeveloping area. I do expect Bankview to be one of those hidden gems in the next 5-10 years as well, just because it's a lot of redevelopment going on there, a lot of teardowns and redevelopment. Here's a building that was built in 2014. Really low condo fees, $387, which includes everything but electricity. And it's just a nice contemporary modern building, nice rooftop patio overlooking downtown. And this unit here is $270 for a 2-bedroom, and it's fully modern.
Yeah, looks great.
Would be a great Airbnb unit if you check the bylaws.
And then would that be around $2,000 as well for rent?
Just over 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah, really appreciate you showing us some real life deals that are available right now on the Calgary market.
Absolutely. And if any of your viewers want to go and take a look at what potential rents are going for, I highly recommend hopping on this site here, Rent Faster. Not sure if you guys do use it out there.
I'll actually have to go look at it. I haven't came across it before, so it might be a regional thing, but I'll be checking it out later today now.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think this might have started in Calgary. They don't use it too much in BC either, but almost everyone uses it to list their units here. They charge $35 for a full listing, so and everyone hops on there. So if you want to go look at the statistics of what's been renting and what prices on average, check it out, and you can actually typically find a unit that's renting in the same building that you're looking to buy in. So that's a really good data to have when considering that purchase, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, really appreciate you sharing with us, Tristan, just everything that's going on in the Calgary market, showing us some live deals as well. I think it's really important for the audience just to be able to kind of see it because seeing is believing. And so, again, that one property you showed, it looks like it could be a pretty decent little cash flow with some potential appreciation upside as well. But for anyone watching this, if you guys want to reach out to Tristan, we've got his contact information in the video description down below. A reminder, if you want to get your hands on that condo buying guide with the 5 metrics that he went over earlier today, make sure you hit him up. Again, we'll have email and Instagram and all the different ways you can contact Tristan. And
Absolutely.
Otherwise, just really appreciate you sharing your experience and wisdom here, Tristan.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Good talking to you.